Hello and welcome to another Read With Me session. I'm yours truly, Isabel Bedell, live from a different point of view. We are celebrating not only the new year, but Christmas in our native state, which is Florida, with our families. And I'm so grateful that I can do these Read With Me's anywhere in the world. All I need is you guys to be here and these amazing books. Today will be the day where we conclude chapter 9 of Good to Great. And I really love the fact that there's only 9 chapters in this book. This book has been designed and thoroughly researched to have amazing, amazing resources for all of us to read and also use to build good to great companies, good to great inner understanding within ourselves. Introspection is very key to this book, and I'm so grateful that you're here doing this Read With Me session with me. So let's get into it. We're going to get into chapter number 9, From Good to Great, To Build to Last. Oof. It is your work in life that is the ultimate seduction. That's from Pablo Picasso. It is your work in life that is the ultimate seduction. I love that quote. When we began the Good to Great research project, we confronted the dilemma. How should we think about the ideas in Built to Last while doing the Good to Great research? Briefly, Built to Last, based on a 6-year research project conducted at Stanford Business School in the early 1900s, answered the question, what does it take to build an enduring great company from the ground up? My research mentor and coach, Jerry, and I studied 18 enduring great companies. 18. They studied 18 companies, institutions that stood the test of time, tracing their founding in some cases back to the 1800s while becoming the iconic great companies of the late 20th century. We examined companies like Procter & Gamble, founded in 1837, American Express, founded in 1850, Johnson & Johnson, founded in 1886, and GE in 1892. One of the companies, Citicorp, now Citigroup, was founded in 1812. The same year, Napoleon marched into Moscow. The youngest companies in the study were Walmart, Sony, which traced the origins back to 1945. And similar to this book, we used direct comparison companies 3M versus Norton, Walt Disney versus Columbia Pictures, Marriott versus Howard Johnson, and so forth. For 18 paired comparisons, in short, we sought to identify the essential distinctions between great companies and good companies as they endure over decades, even centuries. And when I had the first summer research team assembled for the Good to Great project, I asked, what should be the role of the Built to Last in doing this study? I don't think it should play any role, said Brian. And I didn't join this team to do a derivative piece of project. Neither did I, added Allison. And I am so excited about this new project and a new question. I wouldn't be fulfilling to just fill in the pieces of the other book. So, but wait, we've spent 6 years on the previous study, and it might be helpful to build on our previous work. And I seem to recall that you got the idea of this study when McKinsey partners said the Built to Last didn't answer the question of how the change to good to great companies became one. What if the answers are different? Back and forth, to and fro, the debate continued for a few weeks. Then Stephanie weighed in the argument, and that swayed me. I love the idea isn't built to last, and that's what worries me, she said. I'm afraid that if we start with Built to Last as the frame of reference, we'll just go around in circles proving our own biases. And it became very clear that there would be substantially less risk in starting from scratch, setting out to discover what we would and whether it matched previous works or not. Early in the research, then, we made a very important decision. We decided to conduct the research for Good to Great as if built to last didn't exist. And this was the only way to clearly see the key factors in transforming a good to great company into a great one with minimal bias from previous work, and that would be return. Then we could actually return to ask how, if at all, do the two studies relate? Now, 5 years later, with this book complete, we can stand back to look at the two works in the context of each other, surveying across the two studies. I offer the following four conclusions. Number one, when I consider the enduring great companies from built to last, I now see substantial evidence that their early leaders followed the good to great frameworks. And the only real difference is that they did so as entrepreneurs in small early stage enterprises trying to get off the ground rather than CEOs trying to transform established companies from good to great. Number two, that an ironic twist. I now see good to great, not as a sequel to built to last, but a prequel, applying the findings in this book to create sustained great results as a startup or an established organization, and then apply the findings of built to last to go from great results to enduring great company. That's how you do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this book, Good to Great, is the first part that you should be taken in. And then once you've concluded this and you understand this and you've applied this, then go into the other book that he has, and it's called Built to Last, and then it'll all come full circle. Because when you have an established company or a startup, then you have to go into the good to great concept, which then leads into sustained great results, which then when you apply the built to last concepts, boom, that's when you have this great enduring company that lasts. Here's point number three. To make the shift from a company with sustained great results to an enduring great company of iconic stature, apply the central concept from build to last. Discover your core values and purpose beyond just making money. And combine this with the dynamic of preserve the core / stimulate the progress. So you got to discover the core values and the purpose beyond just money, and then combine this dynamic and preserve the core so it stimulates the process, the progress to move forward. Number four, a tremendous resonance exists between the two studies. The idea from each enrich and inform the idea in the other. In particular, Good to Great answers a fundamental question raised but not answered. In Built to Last, what is the difference between a good and a bad? Good to Great in the early stages of Built to Last. Looking back on the Built to Last study, it appears that the enduring great companies did in fact go through a process of build-up to breakthrough, following the good to great framework during the formative years. Consider, for example, the build-up breakthrough flywheel pattern in the evolution of Walmart. Most people think that Sam Walton just exploded into the scene with his visionary idea for rural discount retailing, hitting breakthrough almost as a startup as a company, but nothing could be further than the truth. Sam Walton began in 1945 with a single dime store. He didn't open his second store until 7 years later. Walton built incrementally, step by step, turn by turn of the flywheel until the hedgehog concept of large discount marts popped out as a natural evolutionary step in the mid-1960s. And then it took Walton a quarter of a century, which is 25 years, to grow from that single dime store to a chain of 38 Walmarts. Then from 1970 to 2000, Walmart hit a breakthrough momentum and exploded to over 3,000 stores with over 150 billion, yes, with a B, billion in revenue. And just like the story of the chicken jumping out of the egg that we discussed in the flywheel chapter, Walmart had been incubating for decades before the egg cracked open, as Sam Walton wrote himself. And this is what Sam wrote. Somehow over the years, people have gotten the impression that Walmart was just this great idea that turned into an overnight success. But it was an outgrowth of everything we've been doing since 1945. And Like most overnight successes, it was about 20 years in the making. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. 20 years in the making, this overnight success. If there ever was a classic case of buildup leading to a hedgehog concept, followed by breakthrough momentum in the flywheel, Walmart is it. The only difference is that Sam Walton followed the model as an entrepreneur building a great company from the ground up, rather than as a CEO transforming an established company from good to great. But it's the same basic idea. Hewlett Packard provides another excellent example of the good to great ideas at work in the formative stages of the built to last company. For instance, Bill Hewlett and David Packard entire founding concept for HP was not what, but who. Ooh. It was not what, but who, starting with each other. They'd been best friends in graduate school and simply wanted to build a great company together that would attract other people with similar values and standards. The founding minutes of their first meeting on August 23rd, 1937, begin by stating that they would design, manufacture, and sell products in the electrical engineering fields, very broadly defined, but those same founding minutes go on to stay. The question of what to manufacture was postponed. Hewlett and Packard stumbled around for months trying to come up with something, anything that would get the company out of the garage. And they considered yacht transmitters, air conditioning control devices, medical devices, phonograph and amplifiers, you name it. They built an electronic bowling alley sensors, a clock drive for a telescope, and an electronic shock jiggle machine that helped overweight people lose weight. It didn't really matter what the company made in the early days, as long as it made a technical contribution and would enable Hewlett Packard to build a company together and with other like-minded people. It was the ultimate first who and then what startup. Later, as Hewlett and Packard scaled up and they stayed true to the guiding principle of the first two, after World War II, even as revenue shrank with the end of their wartime contracts, they hired a whole batch of fabulous people streaming out of the government labs with nothing specific in mind for them to do. And recall Packard's law, which we cited in chapter 3. No company can grow revenues consistently faster than its ability to get enough of the right people to implement that growth and still become the great company. Ooh. Let me read that for you guys one more time. No company can grow revenues consistently faster than its ability to get enough of the right people to implement that growth and still become a great company. Hewlett Packard lived and breathed this concept and obtained a surplus of great people whenever the opportunity presented itself. Hewlett and Packard were themselves consummate level 5 leaders, first as entrepreneurs and later as company builders. Years after HP had established itself as one of the most important technology companies in the world, Hewlett maintained a remarkable personal humility. And in 1972, HP Vice President Barney Oliver wrote in a recommendation letter to the IEEE Awards Board for the Founder Award. While our success has been gratifying, it has not spoiled our founders. Only recently, at an executive council meeting, Hewlett remarked, "Look, we've grown because the industry grew. We were lucky enough to be sitting in the nose when the rocket took off, and we don't deserve a damn bit of credit." And after a moment of silence, everyone digested this humbling comment. Well, Bill, at least we didn't loose it up completely. Shortly before his death, I had the opportunity to meet Dave Packard, despite being one of Silicon Valley's first self-made billionaires, and he lived in a small house that he and his wife built for themselves in 1957, overlooking a simple orchard. The tiny kitchen with its dated linoleum and the simply furnished living room bespoke a man who needed no material symbols to proclaim, "I'm a billionaire, I'm important, I'm successful." His idea of a good time, said Bill Terry, who worked with Packard for 36 years, was to get some of his friends together to string some barbed wire, and Packard bequeaths his 5.6 billion estate to a charitable foundation. And upon his death, his family created a eulogy pamphlet with a photo of him sitting on a tractor in farming clothes. The caption made no reference to his stature as one of the great industrialists of the 20th century, and it simply read, David Packard, 1912-1996, rancher, etc. Level 5, indeed. Damn, that's pretty profound. If you consider, how different it is for founders nowadays to, like, they need to take credit, or some people need to show significantly, like, the success of everything. Here's a core ideology, that the extra dimension of enduring greatness. During our interview with Bill Hewlett, he asked him what he was most proud of in his long career. And as I look back at my life's work, he said, I'm probably most proud of having helped a great company that, by virtue of its values, practices, and successes, has had a tremendous impact on the way companies are managed around the world. And HP was the way. The HP way, as it became known, reflected a deeply held set of core values that distinguished the company more than any of its products. These values included technical contribution, respect for the individual, responsibility to the communities in which the company operates, and a deeply held belief that the profit is not the foundational goal of a company. These principles, while fairly standard today, were radical and progressive in the 1950s. David Packard said of businessmen from those days, while they were reasonably polite in their disagreement, it was quite evident that they firmly believed that I was now one of them, and obviously now qualified to manage an important enterprise. And Hewlett and Packard exemplify a key extra dimension that helped elevate the company to the elite status of an enduring company, a vital dimension for making the transition from good to great, to built to last. The extra dimension is a guiding philosophy of a core ideology, which consists of core values and a core purpose, and reason for being beyond just money. These resemble the principles of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident and never perfectly followed, but always present as an inspiring standard and an answer to the question of why it is important that we exist. Enduring great companies don't exist merely to deliver returns to shareholders. Indeed, in a truly great company, profits and cash will become like blood and water to a healthy body, and they are absolutely essential for life, but they are not the very point of life. We wrote in Built to Last about Merck's decision to develop and distribute a drug that cured river blindness, the painful disease afflicted over 1 million people with parasitic worms that swarmed through the eyes to cause blindness. And because those who had the disease, tribal people in remote places like the Amazon, had no money, Merck initiated the creation of an independent distribution system to get the drug to remote villages and gave the drug away free to millions of people around the world. And to be clear, Merck is not a charity organization, nor does it view itself as such. Indeed, it had consistently outperformed the market as a highly profitable company, growing to nearly $6 billion in profit and beating the market by over 10 times from the 1946 to 2000. And yet, despite its remarkable financial performance, Merck does not view its ultimate reason for being as making money. In 1950, George Merck II, son of the founder, set forth his company philosophy. We try to remember that medicine is for the patient. It is not for the profits, and the profits will follow. And if we have remembered that, they have never failed to appear. And that the better we have remembered, it is the larger they have been. An important caveat to the concept of core values is that there are no specific right core values for becoming an enduring great company. No matter what core value you propose, we found an enduring great company that does not have a specific core value. A company need not have passion for its customers, Sony didn't, or respect for the individual, didn't, Disney didn't, or quality, Walmart didn't, or social responsibility, Ford didn't, in order to become an enduring company. This was one of the most paradoxical findings from Built to Last. Core values are essential for enduring greatness, but it does not seem to matter what those core values are. The point is not what core values you have, but that you have core values at all. All that you need, all that you know what they are, that you build them explicitly into the organization and that you preserve them over time. This notion of preserving your core ideology is a central feature of enduring great companies. The obvious question is, how do you preserve the core and yet adapt to a changing world? The answer is embrace the key concept of preserve the core / stimulate progress, to stimulate the progress. Enduring great companies preserve their core values and propose while they enduring great companies preserve their core values and purpose while their business strategies and operating practices endlessly adapt to changing a world. This is the magical combination of preserve the core and stimulate the progress. The story of Walt Disney exemplifies this duality. In 1923, an energetic 21-year-old animator moved to Kansas City to Los Angeles and tried to get a job in the movie business. No film company would hire him. So he used his meager savings to rent a camera, set up a studio in his uncle's garage, and began making animated cartoons. In 1934, Mr. Disney took the bold step never taken before to create a successful full-length animation feature films called Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi. In the 1950s, Disney moved into television with the Mickey Mouse Club, and also in the 1950s, Walt Disney paid a fateful visit to a new number of amusement parks and came away disgusted. Calling them dirty, phony places run by tough-looking people, he decided that Disney could build something much better, perhaps even the best in the world, and the company launched a whole new business in theme parks, first with Disneyland and later with Walt Disney World and Epcot Center. Over time, Disney theme parks have become a cornerstone experience for many families from all over the world. And throughout all these dramatic changes, from cartoons to full-length feature animations, from Mickey Mouse Club to Disney World, the company held firmly to a consistent set of core values that included passionate belief in creative imagination, fanatic attention to detail, abhorrence of cynicism, and preservation of the Disney magic. Mr. Disney also instilled a remarkable constancy of purpose that permeated every new Disney venture, namely to bring happiness to millions, especially children. That's awesome. That's the venture. This purpose cut across national borders and has endured through time. When my wife and I visited Israel in 1995, we met the man who brought Disney products to the Middle East. The whole idea, he told us with pride, is to bring a smile to a child's face. That's really important here, where there aren't enough smiles on children. Walt Disney provides a classic case of preserve the core and stimulate progress, holding a core ideology fixed while changing strategies and practices over time. And its adherence to this principle is the foundational reason why it has endured as a great company. good bags and bad bags, and other conceptual links. In the table on 198, which is the yin and yang concept here, I've outlined a sketch of conceptual lines between the two studies. As a general pattern, the good to great ideas appear to lay the groundwork for the ultimate success of the built to last ideas. And I like to think good to great as providing the core ideas for getting the flywheel turning from build up through breakthrough, while built to last outlines the core ideas for keeping a flywheel accelerating long into the future and elevating a company to iconic stature. And you will notice in examining the table that each of the good to great findings enables all four of the key ideas from built to last. And to briefly review, those four key ideas are number one, which is the clock building, not time telling. Build an organization that can endure and adapt through multiple generations of leaders and multiple product life cycles. The exact opposite of being built around a single great leader or a single great idea. Number two, genius of and. Embrace both extremes on a number of dimensions at the same time. Instead of choosing A or B, figure out how to have A and B, purpose and profit, continuity and change, and freedom and responsibility. Core ideology. Number three, instill core values. These are essential and enduring tenets. And core purpose, which is the fundamental reason for being beyond just making money. And as principles, make them as guides to make decisions and inspire people throughout the organization over a long period of time. Number four, preserve the core, stimulate progress. Preserve the core ideology as an anchor point while stimulating change, improvement, innovation, and renewal in everything else. Change practices and strategies while holding core values and purpose fixed, set and achieve bags consistent with the core ideology. I love this. And then it has like this awesome breakdown from good to great to built to last conceptual links. So when you have the actual book, you're able to take it and really review it and just apply it. You know, it's really, really powerful. And we're almost done here, actually. I'm not going to belabor all the links from the above table, but I would like to highlight one particular powerful link, the connection between BHAG bags and the three circles of the hedgehog concept. In Built to Last, we identified bags as a key way to stimulate progress while preserving the core, which is BAG, pronounced BHAG, short for big, hairy, audacious goals. This is a huge and daunting goal, like a mountain to climb. It is clear, compelling, and people, they get it right away. A bag serves as a unifying focal point of effort, galvanizing people and creating team spirit as people strive towards a finish line, like the 1960s NASA moon mission. A bag captures the imagination and grabs people in the gut. Oof. However, as exciting as bags are, we left a vital question unanswered. What is the difference between a bad bag and a good bag? Swimming from Australia to New Zealand would be a bag for me, but it would also kill me. We could now offer an answer to that question, drawing directly from the study from the good to great companies. Bad bags, it turns out, are set with bravado. Good bags are set with understanding. Indeed, when you combine quite understanding of the three circles with the audacity of a bag, you get a powerful, almost magical mix. A superb example of this comes from Boeing in the 1950s. Until the early 1950s, Boeing focused on building huge flying machines for the military. the B-17 Flying Fortress, the B-29 Super Fortress, and the B-52 Intercontinental Jet Bomber Stratofortress. However, Boeing had virtually no presence in the commercial aircraft market, and the airline showed no interest in buying aircrafts from Boeing. You make great bombers up there in Seattle, but why don't you just stick with that? They said in response to Boeing's inquiries. And today, we take for granted that most air travel takes place on a Boeing jet. But in 1952, almost no one outside of the military flew on Boeing. Wisely, through the 1940s, Boeing had stayed away from the commercial sphere, an arena in which McDonnell Douglas had vastly superior abilities in the smaller propeller-driven planes that composed the commercial fleet. In the 1950s, however, Boeing saw an opportunity to leapfrog McDonnell Douglas by marrying its experience with large aircrafts to its understanding of jet engines. And led by a level 5 leader named Bill Allen, Boeing executives debated the wisdom of moving into the commercial sphere. They came to understand that whereas Boeing could not have been the best commercial plane maker a decade earlier, the cumulative experience in jets and big planes they had gained from the military contracts now made such a dream possible. They also came to see that the economics of commercial aircrafts would be vastly superior to the military market and of no small importance. They were just flat out turned on by the whole idea of building a commercial jet. So, in 1952, Bill Allen and his team made the decision to spend a quarter of their company's entire net worth to build a prototype jet that could be used for commercial aviation. They built the 707 and launched Boeing on a bird to become the leading commercial aviation company in the world. And 3 decades later, after producing 5 of the most successful commercial jets in history, okay, the 707, 727, 737, 747, and the 757, Boeing stood as the absolute, unquestioned greatest company in the commercial airplane industry worldwide. And not until the late 1990s would Boeing's #1 position be seriously challenged, and it would take a government consortium in the form of an Airbus to do it. Here's the key point. Boeing's bags, while huge and daunting, was not any random goal. It was a goal that made sense within the context of the 3 circles. Boeing's executives understood with calm equanimity that 1, the company would become the best in the world at a commercial jet manufacturer, and even though it had no presence in the market, and then number 2, the shift would significantly improve Boeing's economics by increasing profit per aircraft model. And then number 3, the Boeing people were very passionate about the idea. Boeing acted with understanding, not bravado, at the time, at this pivotal moment in its history. And that is one of the key reasons why it endured as a great company. The Boeing case underscores a key point. To remain great over time requires, on the other hand, staying squarely within the 3 circles, while on the other hand, being willing to change the specific manifestations of what's inside the 3 circles at any given moment. And Boeing in 1952 never left the 3 circles or abandoned its core ideology, but it created an exciting new bag and adjusted its hedgehog concept to include the commercial aircraft. The 3 circle bags framework provides one powerful example of how the ideas from the 2 studies link together. And I'd like to offer it here as a practical tool for creating this link within your organization. Yet, it alone will not make your company great and lasting. And to create an enduring great company requires all the key concepts from both studies tied together and applied constantly over time. Furthermore, if you ever stop doing any of the key ideas, your organization will inevitably slide backwards toward mediocrity. Yeah. If you ever stop doing any one of the key ideas, your organization will inevitably slide backwards toward mediocrity. And remember, it is much easier to become great than remain great. Become great than to remain great. Ultimately, the consistent application of both studies, one building upon another, gives the best chance for creating greatness that lasts. Wow. Why greatness? Let's harp on this. Why greatness? To this point, it's hot. We are in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. We are in Florida. Okay, let's get into this. During a break at a seminar that I gave to a group of my ex-students from Stanford, okay, one came to me, bro, for maybe I'm just not ambitious enough, he said, but I don't really want to build a huge company. Is there something wrong with that? And I replied, not at all. Greatness doesn't depend on size. I then told him, think about Simatov, who runs the building where I have my research laboratory. Sina has created a truly great institution. It's an old 1892 red brick school building that has been renovated into the most extraordinary space, decorated and maintained with tremendous attention to detail, bordering on perfection. And by one definitions of results, attracting the most interesting people in Boulder, setting a standard that other local buildings measure themselves against, and generating the highest profit per square foot of space. His small enterprise is truly a great institution in my hometown, and Simontab has never defined greatness by size, and there's no reason for him to. The student paused for a moment and said, okay, I accept that I don't need to be building a big company in order to have a great company, but even so, why should I even try to build a great company? What if I just want to be successful? Well, the question brought me up short. This was not a lazy person asking. He started his own business as a young man, but putting himself through law school and after graduate school became a driven entrepreneur. He had remarkable energy and intense and infectious enthusiasm. And of all the students I've ever known over the years, he is one of those that I have little doubt will be enormously successful. Yet the questions, the whole idea of trying to build something great and lasting. Here's what I can do for you. I can offer two answers. First, I believe that it is no harder to build something great than to build something good. It might be statistically more rare to reach greatness, but it does not require more suffering than perpetuating mediocrity. Indeed, if some of the comparison companies in our study are in any indication, it involves less suffering and perhaps even less work. The beauty and the power of research findings is that they can radically simplify our lives while increasing our effectiveness. There is great solace in the simple fact of clarity about what is vital and what is not. Indeed, the point of this entire book is not that we should add these findings to what we are already doing, but to make ourselves even more overworked. No, the point is to realize that much of what we're doing is at best a waste of energy. If we organize the majority of our work around applying these principles and pretty much ignoring or stopping doing everything else, our lives would be much simpler and our results vastly improved. Let me illustrate this point on a non-business example. The last story of the book. The coaching staff of a high school cross-country running team recently got together for a dinner after winning its second state championships in over 2 years. The program had been transformed in the previous 5 years from good, top 20 in the state, to great, consistent contenders for the state championships on both the boys and the girls teams. I don't get it, said one of the coaches. Why are we so successful? We don't work any harder than any other of the teams, and what we do is just so simple. Why does it work? He was referring to the hedgehog concept of the program, captured in one simple statement. We run best at the end. We run best at the end of the workouts. We run best at the end of the races, and we run best at the end of the season when it counts the most. Everything is geared to the simple idea, and the coaching staff knows how to create this effect better than any other team in the state. And for example, they place a coach at the 2-mile mark to collect data as the runners go past. But unlike most teams which collect time splits, this team collects place splits. Then the coaches calculate not how fast the runners go, but how many competitors they pass at the end of the race. And from mile 2 to the finish, they use this data to award head bones after each race. The kids learn how to pace themselves and race with confidence, and we run the best at the end. And they think at the end of a hard race, so I'm not hurting bad, then my competitors must hurt a whole lot worse. They don't think like that. They think of who they need to pass to get the final end goal. Of equal importance is that they don't waste any energy. For example, when the head coach took over the program, she found herself burdened with expectations to do fun programs and rah-rah stuff to motivate the kids and keep them interested. Parties and special trips, shopping adventures like Nike outlets and inspirational speeches. And she quickly put an end to nearly all of the distracting, time-consuming activities. And she said, look, this program will be built on the idea that running is fun, racing is fun, improving is fun, and winning is fun. If you're not passionate about what we do here, then go find somewhere else to do it. The result? The number of the kids in the program nearly tripled in the 5 years from 30 to 82. And before the boys team won the first ever state cross-country championship in the school's history, she didn't explicitly set the goal or try to motivate the kids towards it. Instead, she let the kids gain momentum, seeing them for themselves, race by race, week by week. They could beat anyone in the state. And then one day, out on a training run, one boy said to his teammates, hey, I think we could win state. And then the other one said, yeah, I think so too. And everyone just kept running. The goal quietly got understood. The coaching staff never once mentioned the state championships until the kids saw it for themselves that they could do it. This created the strongest culture of discipline possible. And as the 7 varsity runners felt personally responsible for the winning state, a commitment made not to the coaches, but to each other. One team member even called of all these teammates the night before the state race, just to make sure they were all getting ready for bed early. No need for the coaches to be disciplinarians of this team, hammering through the last mile, passing competitors. We run best at the end. Each kid hurt, but knew it would hurt a lot more if he had to look at his teammates in the eye as the only one who failed to come through, and no one failed. No one failed, and the team beat every other team at the state by a large margin. The head coach began rebuilding the whole program around the idea of first two. One of the assistant coaches is a 300-pound egg-shot putter, but he is, without question, the right who. He shares the values and has traits needed to help build a great team. As the program builds momentum, it attracts more kids and more great coaches, and people want to be part of the spinning flywheel. They want to be part of a championship team. They want to be part of a first-class culture. When the cross-country team posts yet another championship banner in the gym, more kids sign up, and the gene pool deepens, and the team gets faster, which produces more championships, and which attracts more kids, which creates even faster teams, and so forth and so forth. It's the flywheel effect. Are these coaches suffering more than other teams to create the program? Are they working harder? No. In fact, all the assistant coaches have full-time professional jobs outside of coaching: engineers, computer technicians, teachers, and they work for essentially no pay, carving precious time out of their busy lives to be part of building a great program. They're just focusing on the right things and not the wrong things. They're doing virtually everything we write about in this book and within their specific situation and not wasting time on anything that doesn't fit. Simple, clean, straightforward, elegant, and a heck of a lot of fun. The point of the story is that the ideas work when you apply them in any situation and they make your life and your experience a whole lot better while improving results. And along the way, you just might make what you're building so great. So I ask again, if it's no harder given these ideas, the results better, and the process so much more fun, well, why wouldn't you go for greatness? To be clear, I'm not suggesting that going from good to great is easy, or that every organization will successfully make the shift. By definition, it is not impossible for everyone to be above average, but I am asserting that those who strive to turn good into great find the process no more painful or exhausting than those who settle for just letting things wallow along in mind-numbing mediocrity. Yes, turning good into great takes energy, but the building of momentum adds more energy back into the pool than it takes out. And conversely, perpetuating mediocrity in an inherently depressing process and drains much more energy out of the pool than it puts back in. But there is a second answer to the question of why greatness. One that is at the very heart of what motivated us to undertake this huge project in the first place, the search for meaning, or more precisely, the search for meaningful work. I asked the head coach of the cross-country program why she felt compelled to make it great, and she paused before answering. It's a really good question. Long pause. It's really hard to answer. More pause, I guess. It's because I really care about what we're doing. I believe in running and the impact it can make on these kids' lives. And I want them to have a great experience and to have the experience of being part of something that's absolutely first class. Now for the interesting twist. The coach has an MBA from an elite business school and a Phi Beta Kappa graduate in economics, having won the prize for the best undergraduate honors thesis at one of the most selective universities in the world. And she found, however, that the most of what her classmates went on to do, investment back into Wall Street or starting an internet company, management consulting, or working for IBM or whatever, held no meaning for her. She just didn't care enough about the endeavors to want to make them great. For her, those jobs held no meaningful purpose, and so she made the decision to search for meaningful work. Work about which she would have such passion that the question, why try for greatness, would even seem so tautological. If you're doing something that you care about so much and you believe in its purpose deeply enough, then it's impossible to try to imagine not trying to make it great. It is just a given. I've tried to imagine the level 5 leaders of the companies we've studied answering the question, why greatness? And of course, most would say we're not great. We could be so much better. But pushed to answer, why try for greatness? I believe they would respond much like cross-country coach. They're doing something they really care about which they have great passion. Like Bill Hewlett, they might care first and foremost about creating a company that is, by virtue of its values and success, has tremendous impact on the way companies are managed around the world. Or, like Ken Iverson, they might feel a crusader's purpose to obliterate the oppressive class hierarchies that cause degradation of both labor and management. Or like Darwin Smith at Kimberly-Clark, they might derive a tremendous sense of purpose from the inner quest of excellence itself, being driven within to make anything they touch the best it can be. Or perhaps like Lyle Evergreen at Kroger or Cork at Walgreens. They might have grown up in the business and just really love it. You don't need to have some grand existential reason for why you love what you're doing or to care deeply about your work, although you might. All that matters is that you do love it and that you do care. So the question of why greatness, it is almost a nonsense question. If you're engaged in work that you love and you care about for whatever reason, then the question needs no answer. The question is not why, but how. Indeed, the real question is not why greatness, but what work makes you feel compelled to try to create greatness. And if you have to ask the question, why should we try to make it great? It isn't successful enough, then you probably are engaged in the wrong line of work. Perhaps your quest to be part of building something great will not fall in your business life, but find it somewhere. If not in corporate life, then perhaps in making your church great. If not there, then perhaps a nonprofit or a community organization or a class that you teach. Get involved in something that you care about so much that you want to make it the greatest it can possibly be. Not because of what you will get, but just because it can be done. When you do this, you will start to grow, inevitably towards becoming a level 5 leader. And early in this book, we wondered about how to become a level 5. And we suggested that you start by practicing the rest of the findings. But under what conditions will you have the drive and discipline to fully practice the other findings? Perhaps it is when you care deeply enough about the work in which you are engaged, and when your responsibilities line up with your own personal 3 circles. When all these pieces come together, not only does your work move towards greatness, but so does your life. For in the end, it is impossible to have a great life unless it is a meaningful life. And it is very difficult to have a meaningful life without meaningful work. And perhaps then you might gain that rare tranquility that comes from knowing that you've had a hand in creating something of intrinsic excellence that makes a contribution. Indeed, you might even gain that deepest of all satisfactions, knowing that your short time here on earth has been well spent and that it mattered. Why greatness? Ask yourself that. Why greatness? Why greatness? And if not greatness, what do you need? What do you need to create greatness? Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Read With Me session of Good to Great. And this concludes the actual book. And if you have been here from the start, from the get-go, congratulations, because honestly, it has been a pleasure to be reading with you, to be going through this journey with you, because it's important. It's important that we invest back into ourselves, that we take the time to reconnect with what matters, create elasticity in your brain, to live longer, to express yourself, to really be present, and to see your potential shine through. Thank you for being an incredible human being. Thank you for being part of the BIC, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to read with you each and every day. We're super pumped for what's going to happen in 2023, and this is only the beginning, because I do believe in greatness, and I do believe that what we're building here at Billionaire Rent is the greatest that will ever be. We are goats. Okay. So we're excited, we're committed, and we look forward to having you part of the Billionaire Inner Circle and for all the greatness that we'll create together. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your year, and cheers to you and your greatness. Bye.